This conference will now be recorded.
Huh?
That was pretty seamless. Why am I right in front of me?
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the boat meeting this morning. And we have online Rebecca Edwards from CUSA, and Heather is here. Hi, Heather. And so we are going to just go through the agenda quick today. We have some events coming up that we're going to talk about. I do have a mistake on the agenda already, so I will show you that. On January 24th, I just want to talk about some recent things that we did. January 24th, we trained 11 people from TIPS. From Tables on the Farm. They are going to be taking over Tables on the Green at the golf course. And so we are training them, all their staff, and we had 11 people. Everybody passed, which is great. And we are going to be probably doing another TIPS training for that group specifically in our area. So that's good news. Our select board did require them to take TIPS before getting their license. So we thought that was a really, positive thing that we have going on, and hopefully we can continue doing these things. Because when you get trained for TIPS, it's not just like you're training for TIPS, you're also, it can be a crossover with nicotine and tobacco products as well, as far as identification and that type of thing. So, we can kind of implement that at the same time, a little bit of training around it. So that's going on with the TIPS. Again, anybody from any other towns that are joining us on here today, if you have any places, locations in your towns that want to have TIPS training, we are able to do that. So just keep that in mind, for the town of Ware, maybe Northampton, East Hampton area, and what have you. On January 25th, the Helping Hand student group went to the 84 Summit in Worcester, and I'm going to have Aline talk a little bit about that.
So we had about 5 students. So the 84 is it's a nonprofit movement, and they focus on nicotine prevention in youth. So they empower youth to get involved, and it's across Massachusetts. So they had a conference at Polar Park in Worcester on January 25th, and about 5 of our Helping Hand students went out there. There were many other groups from Massachusetts there, so they got to kind of hang out, and they had a couple workshops and free food and t-shirts, and it was just a fun experience for them. So we had that, and hopefully we'll be doing another event with 84 soon in April for Enough Day or Kick Butts Day in Boston. So
yeah, and so on Kick Butts Day, they go to Boston, and where do they go?
To the Capitol. They have a chance to talk with legislation, and there's some other organized events activities that they have. Yeah. There, so
yeah, so that's awesome. Our students are really getting involved this year. Aline, you're doing a great job with that.
Thanks.
And then we did have our CADCA conference 2-3 to 6 this year. It was a little different. We had over 4,000 people there. For me personally, I felt disappointed just because some organizations at the last minute were not allowed to come. NIH, NIDA, CDC. So some of the workshops that I attended, there was nobody there, or they were replaced with another workshop. So it was a little bit more disappointing this year. CADCA is always a pretty good conference where we can go to work, several workshops throughout the day. But that did happen. So, but Capitol Hill Day, we did have several coalitions go to Capitol Hill Day and testify and talk to some people. So that was really good. Yes. What happened to us? What happened?
Oh.
What?
Oh, you're back.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
All right. And so anyways, that was CADCA. There was some really good stuff that did happen there. I did attend, which is really, we're ahead of the game on this. I did attend a session on synthetic cannabinoids, and they, we're right on the money. They did talk about, there's 26 different strains of synthetic cannabinoids out there. And they did say, bans work, but bans work when there's a cluster of towns around too. It's the same thing with nicotine-free generation. The more that we have around, the better off it's going to be, so kids don't jump from town to town. So, for Belchertown, we did ban synthetic cannabinoids over a year ago in Belchertown, which only one store, right, actually had that. So, for Belchertown, what Andrea is doing here is, you're very proactive, and, it helps us be proactive as well. So great job with what we're doing in policy.
The issue is getting our neighbor town to do the same thing.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. All right, and then on the 27th, there is a trainer naloxone in East Hampton at Learn to Cope? Learn to Cope. And so Aline and I are actually going to go do that tomorrow and get trained, because this will give us the opportunity to go to different businesses in town and different organizations local in town, and expand that training and be able to talk to people. And because we've established a presence in town, we know the businesses now, and that they'd be more than willing to actually do the training. We've had people ask us about it. So this is really good for us, and to getting our restaurants in our town prepared for this, especially with the openings of new restaurants. We get other people coming into town. You never know what's going to happen. Even accidental, overdose or accidental taking somebody else's medications. We could do some stuff at the senior center, et cetera. And the other part about this too is that working with these businesses in, for example, the courthouse, all right? We are working with the probation office right now. This is here today. And we're doing some different trainings over there. But one of the things that we might want to do over there at some point is do the Narcan training, or get a naloxone box over there. And that's a discussion that we've been having. And I have talked to the chief PO about getting the LOX box in the courthouse, but they have to go above that. And we should be able to do it though. So as we are building here, we're expanding our reach into all these businesses in different parts of the community now, which is great. So everybody can be prepared, be safe, and that is that. Any questions so far?
The drug-free communities grant will allow you to do naloxone training?
That is through their 7 hours through the opioid settlement fund.
Okay.
Yes. And so that was a big thing for us this year, to be able to do that. We were able to expand outside of drug-free communities with that extra money that we were able, or extra hours that we were able to get and focus, into that area as well.
Will you have naloxone to give?
We have some, we can get some from the police department, but I do know Kirsten has some too.
Yeah.
But can I reach out to you, or?
She also does training and distribution, so we wouldn't necessarily be. We
can.
That was kind of a little bit.
We'll
like I would rather her be involved with the training.
We would like that too. We just don't for us to get trained. We were, that'll give us more of an opportunity to expand if Kirsten can't.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because she's one person in several towns. So we figured that if we got trained, at least we could be focused on Belchertown if Kirsten can't. But we definitely collaboration. We've been collaborating with her all along. So yeah. But we'll find out about that. Through Neil. We might, I'm not really sure about that. That's a good question. But we have a bunch right now. So 3/11, that date is wrong on the agenda.
It should be 3/11.
Yes. On March 11th, MVP 2.0, and which is Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Program for the town, and the Belchertown Council on Aging, Senior Center, and B.O.A.T are collaborating on the Voice of Recovery Matters, and there's flyers here. Please take some flyers, post them, give them out to people. what the program is, it's from 4:30 to 6:30 on March 11th. It's going to be a sit-down catered dinner, either chicken or vegetarian option. People must register through me on my email, which is on the flyer, and give their choice of a chicken or vegetarian dinner. It is a free event. It is open to anybody that has been affected by substance use disorder, whether indirectly or directly. It could be grandparents, parents, siblings, friends, anybody, caregivers that have been, or people in recovery, obviously, people still struggling, and finding out, what are the challenges and opportunities in our community, that we can, what are the opportunities that we have to create programming, a space for people, resources, that type of thing. What do we already have in place that we can expand upon? What are the challenges? One of the biggest challenges that I've heard from several people is transportation. Transportation is a huge issue. So that might be something that comes up, but we want to hear from our community members. This is something that we see, but we want to hear it from the community and see what everybody else has to say. Right now we have myself, Angela is part of this MVP 2.0, and you can talk a little bit more about it if you want to. And we have 3 signups so far. So we'd really like to get a lot more signups. Again, even professionally, if you're affected by this, it would be a good thing to look into. Do you have more to say?
Yeah, just a little bit. So the reason why MVP 2.0 was created was because the end result is we're going to be given $50,000 for a seed project. And the seed project is going to help one type of group in the Belchertown community. And so what we've been doing is we've been having events. We've been talking to the seniors over at the senior center. We've had events at Pine Valley and Sports Haven. We're having this boat event. We had an event where we talked to, the farmers and how they're affected by climate change and social resilience and all of that stuff. And so once we get all of the information, then we're going to have 2 sessions where anybody from Belchertown can come and sit down in breakout groups and go over all of the information that we've collected and vote as a town on where we want to spend that $50,000 and what kind of seed project we're going to create. So this event, I'm hoping, will give us a lot of information as to how we can help the recovery community as a whole. Because maybe if we start something here in Belchertown, that could branch out if it's effective and to other places. So I think that's it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Any questions on the Voices of Recovery Matters? Voice of Recovery Matters. All right. So then, I can't believe how quickly this year is going. So the day after that, March 12th, we do have our Pre-Prom social host law talk with Kathy Sullivan from Taylor's Message. This will be her 4th year coming in a row, which is incredible. Is it 4 years? Yeah. Wow. So Kathy Sullivan will be coming with Taylor's Message, just to remind people who what this is about. Taylor passed away, I want to say 7 years ago now, a while ago, from binge drinking. She went to a homecoming game, and people were drinking all day, and they ended up out at an abandoned airport with a group of people drinking. She wanted to go home, and she wandered off into the woods, walking towards the road through some marsh. And her friends were laughing at her, like, "You're drunk, what are you doing?" And she left, and she ended up passing out and drowning in a couple inches of water. And so they didn't find her for a couple days. It's awful. But this stuff can happen with binge drinking. I mean, kids just don't get it, like how dangerous it is for their friends, for themselves. The poisoning that can come with it. So Kathy comes around and talks to parents about, social host law as well, and the dangers of serving kids underage. And it's perfect time of year to do it, pre-prom, graduation. So she'll be coming again with that. Umbrella wellness updates. So that is going to be May 17th, 12 to 4. We're on target with it. So far, we have the Barrows family pulling team pulling for a cause around suicide prevention, depression and anxiety, and they will be bringing in a large truck with displays. We have the Alex Fisher Foundation coming again this year with the Hidden in Plain Sight. We only have so far 2 food trucks. Rustic Fusion is not able to come this year because they have a conflict. They are getting so busy on all the weekends. I've spoken with the owner about it, and it's just unfortunate. Already they're already booked like almost every weekend. They cannot come. Thai Chili has a conflict too. Tony's Pizza is taking the year off. So right now we have batch and mac and cheese, and we really would like to get another one. Dr. Dewey did send me a email for Roosters Roaming Cafe, so I'm going to reach out to them today to see if they can come. But if anybody else has connections to somebody with a food truck, please reach out to myself or Arlene, or anybody on the Umbrella Wellness Committee, which is Kim Dewey, Patrick Hagerty, or Janine Davidson. You can reach out to any of us about that. But we do need another, we would like to get at least 1 or 2 more food trucks.
Do you want me to email you the list of food trucks?
Sure, yeah.
I did that one year. You can kind of go through.
Yeah, that'd be great. And I probably have half of that list, so that would be awesome. Yeah, thank you, Andre. All right. So far we have 39 committed to tabling, hosting tables this year, and we have several new ones, which is great. So we have 39 hosting tables so far. We still have 2 more months to go. We will get the flyer out in 2 weeks to everybody for the Umbrella Wellness Fair. That will be forthcoming, and so hopefully once we get the flyer out, we can get some more commits to host tables. We have about 15 maybes, so we're getting pretty full already for this, which is great. It's such a good opportunity for other organizations to connect with each other as well. Because hey, the more that are together, the more that we can give to people. So then we do have some kids activities again. We have Boomer coming. We have face painting, henna tattoos. No.
Face painting, Boomer, we have the support dog, and we're working on a balloon.
Yeah, we're working on a balloon guy. That's what we're doing right now. So, we're going to be reaching out to a couple other activities as well. Kirsten is going to do Narcan training during that time as well. So we have a lot of activities going on. We are going to ask this year, which is a little different, at 2:30 or 2:20, we are going to ask all tables to shut down this year because we want people to have the opportunity to go in and see Vibe 18 this year. That's our main stage speaker. They're amazing. They're so amazing, and they're going to be, just so positive and uplifting, upbeat. And so we want people to come there. If you are not going to shut your table down at that time, you can stay at your table. But 2:30 to 3:30 is going to be the main stage speaker. At 3:30 to 4:30, 3:30 to 4 o'clock will be the raffle announcements. Again, you must be present to get your raffle, and it has to be the person that has the ticket. There's not giving your tickets away to other people, so you're gonna have to be putting your names on them this year. We keep learning every year, what we need to do different. So far, we have funded, for funding, we have a little over $3,000 that we've gotten for sponsorship already this year, which is amazing, and we have more coming. But that money that we get for sponsorship does fund, part of our fair, specifically like our food. We give out a $10 token every year for free food at the food truck. So that definitely does help out. with our sponsorships that we have in the community. And we have a couple new ones this year too, which we had North Brookfield Savings Bank sponsored monetarily this year, as well as a coin set. We do have collected prizes already. We have about 10 prizes, I think. So we haven't even gone out in the community and we've already gotten prizes. So that will be something that we'll be doing in March. All right, enough about drug-free communities. Any updates from you guys in here? All right, opioid settlement fund committee updates. Yeah, anything, Kim?
Well, we met Monday, and we are exploring sort of the potential formation of some sort of department that would have hopefully a social worker and or services coordinator. We spoke with the team from Ludlow, and we're meeting, I think, next meeting with the team from East Hampton. Just to sort of explore what they do and what, and if it falls under the opioid settlement fund. I think it does. I don't know that the opioid settlement fund needs to fund the whole thing. There are potential for grant opportunities. So it was really interesting to have them come to our meeting. Other than that, I don't think there's a whole lot else brewing at the moment. We're waiting on at least one grant application from Honest Beginnings that we think is really forthcoming, but that's kind of it at the moment.
Yeah, great. And also for next year, we funded the opioid settlement fund, funded Jabesh Brook Middle School after school programming last year, and they are not going to be reapplying this year. So I don't know what that means, but they will not be reapplying for that this year. And also for drug-free communities, because our notice of funding is on hold right now for years 6 to 10 and years 1. It's on hold for everybody. So at this point, we did discuss drug-free communities a long time ago that if we had a gap year, that we would go through the opioid settlement fund, which they're really supportive with us about that. So we will have, worst case scenario for drug-free community staff, if we don't get DFC funding for this year, at least we'll be able to be funded for another year through that, those monies. And that will give us an opportunity to find other grant money or whatever we need to do with that, or maybe, just settles in drug-free communities gets posted. So, there are things around there, but we, gratefully are going to be in a good position that we can still keep strong with B.O.A.T and still keep strong within our community, because I think we have made a big difference. Maybe I'm just kind of biased, but but I feel like we've done a lot over the last almost 4 years. All right, thank you, Kim. Public health updates.
I don't have too much. I did go around a couple weeks ago to all of our retailers to make sure that the oral nicotine pouches were removed from the shelves. Checkers still had those up, so I'm gonna check them today and make sure they're down. We're gonna go to Country Crossroads today because I did not do that one yet. But otherwise, everybody knew about the restriction and they were very good at complying with that. So, I do know that in Ware, we just had Pioneer Valley go out and do the youth compliance checks where they send in someone under 21 that looks a little bit older to purchase. 2 of our retailers did sell, and one of them sold the Zyn pack to a minor. This was on a Sunday, and then another store sold this is a pack of cigarettes, but they were first time offenders, so they hadn't sold to a minor since we've been part of this tobacco control coalition. So it's a $1,000 fine. And a 7-day suspension, so they have to remove all their products from the store for 7 days. In Belchertown, a fine like that would be the same because it's a state fine, but it's a 3-day suspension. So Ware's a little more strict one with the first offense suspension. So I imagine they'll probably be doing Belchertown soon. Usually they kind of They're doing them around the same time, so don't tell anybody. But that's it. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about other communities, but in where, you know, our Board of Health is currently re-reviewing tobacco control regulations that were developed in 2023. We have 2 board members that were not involved in the original, you know, updating of those regulations in 2023. And, you know, they're having a little bit of an issue with regulations in general being more strict than what we have for state regulations and being more on the pro-business side. So, the last Board of Health meeting we had, was just re-looking at the tobacco control regulations and, answering questions. We had Pioneer Valley there, Heather Warner was there, Chris was there, we had Ken Elstein from the Belchertown Board of Health there. And so they're gonna be meeting again in March, and I'm hoping to drum up more community support for the regulations, because we don't wanna see the regulations go back and be less strict, because they're all about youth restriction and, you know, reducing youth access and, you know, Ware has 10 tobacco retailers and 9 of them are all situated in Ware's environmental justice area, which is people of color and people that are low income, and they're already at a disadvantage. We need to have, you know, strict tobacco control regulations. And Pioneer Valley had said in their coalition, which I can't remember how many, was it like 31 communities, cities, and like towns that they do in Hampshire County for tobacco control, Ware was the top 3. Was number 3 in the top 3 for selling to a minor. So don't go back. We don't want to see them go backwards with the regulations. We want to see them taking this data and information and moving forward and being more proactive and in preventing, you know, if you can prevent youth access, you'll prevent youth sales. And I mean, it's so it's been a little frustrating. So
Will they have a public forum when they decide to re-regulate it?
if they end up voting on a different draft, they will have a public hearing.
Okay,
But they are open to public comment.
okay,
One of the things that the board wanted was all of our tobacco retailers notified of this discussion, and it's like, well, you're only gonna hear from the retailer side.
Right.
You don't wanna hear from the retailer side when you're looking at your regulations, because they're not gonna bring a public health background. You know, they're not gonna want them to begin with.
Right.
But with that, we did notify them for in the last meeting that we had, and only 2 retailers showed up for that. The other one was for a hearing. So it's not like everybody showed up, and, you know, I'm not notifying them again each month. It's, you know.
so it would be helpful on March 19th if we came, like drug-free communities came to
I don't see why
make a
not,
comment.
because we're right
Well,
next
we-
door,
we-
we're part of the
Right.
Climate Health District, so what happens in Ware can
Right.
affect Belchertown and vice versa.
And we can go in person, and actually would be even stronger, I think, in person. But having strength in numbers, like even having somewhere people be there as well, is gonna make a huge difference, because if we don't stand up and say, as a community, like drug-free communities and prevention, like, hey, here's the statistics, this is coming from this, you know, your students and Ware, your youth, then how are you gonna fight that? Not fight it, but that's not the right word I'm wanna use, but.
What would be their rationale for moving back?
Right, what is the
Have all this
rationale?
Data, like, you know.
You got the data that's even like saying you're selling to all these youth, this is, you know, affects their brain, it affects everything. So like, they need an education on it, and who's gonna be able to do that, but, right.
They don't want to listen to me.
So, all right, well, I'll plan on being there in person on 3/19.
That's how it works sometimes, unfortunately.
And then I'll come from the Belchertown perspective on that, but it might be helpful if somebody from Ware is there too.
Yes, I reached out to the recovery center, and
Oh, great.
they connected me to Sawyer. Who,
Yeah, Sawyer,
is their youth engagement
Mhm.
person, so I'll be meeting with him. And yeah, and my nurse will be there too.
Okay, great. All right, and then, thank you for that. So just
I
prevention.
think Chris, just real quick, I think we're planning to send like a small horde of people. We're just trying to gather them.
Rebecca's up there. Oh,
Yeah.
hi, Rebecca, thank you.
Hi. Yeah. And
All
like,
right,
I am heartened by the fact that the board is really against selling to minors. Like they hem and haw about the other regulations, but they really do not want people selling to minors. So I feel like we can utilize this last compliance check to say, we cannot go back on regulations. You see, this just happened. So in a way, the timing is perfect.
I know, it is.
Yeah.
It is that the sale happened and it's just.
yeah, awesome, Rebecca, that would be great. You know, I think like if we all come together and do this then, and say the same things, that it's gonna be a lot helpful. Yes, positively. Heather, just had something up there in the chat.
She thinks it would be a positive effect if youth came.
Yeah, and that way I can talk about what we've done in Belchertown and how effective it's been in Belchertown as well, you know, and we're the neighboring community, you know, so.
The kids wanted this. This is what the kids.
Yes, and talking about our Helping Hands kids showing up for nicotine-free generation and that the students wanted it. Yeah, that's huge. All right, great. Thank you so much. So prevention, we've already talked about. We are going to an Elms College symposium next Saturday, which is it's talking about finding hope in the midst of grief. Just getting more resources for people around grief in our community, specifically related to substance use disorder. Aline already gave the HH Helping Hands and 84 update, CADCA conference. Upcoming trainings, April 4th. I did say that we have been partnering with the probation office, and so on April 4th, I will be doing a mental health first aid 2-hour training with the probation officers. And it's what I did is I took the curriculum from youth mental health first aid and I watered it down. And so like basically we're going to be focusing on the LG action plan because it's applicable across all communities, and coming up with scenarios specific for the probation officers. And that way they can understand how to respond to a crisis or non-crisis situation in your courthouse. And Alyssa, you can speak to that if you want to. Like, have you had to deal with situations like this? And yeah.
And then say there has been, and I know, yearly, the chief will see, we're looking for, some training information and just keep, current and learning. So
yeah,
this is kind of on track with what.
Yeah, and we've developed a list of I have a list of that I've given out to an Excel file out to our website person, so that should be put up on B.O.A.T pretty soon. And then Aline put together an awesome document. It's about 7 pages, something like that, of resources, like all kinds of resources, family resources, domestic violence. It is incredible. And so we've given that out to Kate, to put on B.O.A.T website. It's a lot of information. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it is going to be out there. And we'll be giving those resources out all the time now when we do any type of mental health first aid training. Youth mental health first aid, whatever it might be. So you will be getting all of those resources in your packet that day. And then we met yesterday with Reverend Sarah Maria Allenby, and she is from Falmouth, Massachusetts, and she was a spiritual advisor at Gosnell Treatment Center. I worked with her years ago in Cape Cod, and she is going to be coming to Belchertown at some point, maybe May or something. But we're working. We met with Kirsty yesterday, and the chief PO at the courthouse, and we are setting up a mindfulness and meditation type program for specific to the POs for them to have their own tools. There's a lot of high stress that is going on over there, everywhere, not just there, everywhere. And so this will be, this is something they asked for. And so we're going to be bringing that program into probation. At the same time, I'm going to be reaching out to Sue Daly, who's up there, and trying to set something up at that same time to maybe do something at the Hope Recovery Center of Hope, which will be funded by our drug-free communities. And that way she can do a couple hour session maybe at the Recovery Center of Hope. And even maybe in Belchertown, the MVP 2.0 has talked about bringing her into the rec center. But she's a spiritual advisor and she does all types of stuff around like joy, and she's amazing. She's just an amazing person that will bring light into anybody's life. So that will be good. Let's see. Okay, I think that's about it. Dart is not here today. Anything from the recovery community at all? Sue or anybody?
The only thing that I have to say is we have a community meeting every Wednesday, and I am going to announce the Voice of Recovery Matters.
Thank you so much.
No problem. So I'll be announcing it to our community.
Awesome. And you just make sure that they know to email me on that too, okay?
You bet.
Okay, thanks, Sue.
No problem.
All right. So we do have before we move on, I do want to introduce we have a new person here with us today, but I just want to go around. I should have done this in the beginning. Just introduce ourselves, say where we're from, what departments.
Aline Mata, Community Engagement Coordinator for Drug Free Communities.
Chris Hogue, Program Director, Drug Free Communities, co-chair of B.O.A.T.
Angela Battle, co-chair of B.O.A.T, and also with the MVP group.
T.O., the Belchertown Park and Rec Director.
Kim Dewey, pediatrician, business representative.
Deborah Keith, school nurse leader in the Belchertown Public School District.
And Melissa Graham, probation officer at the Fort in Belchertown.
I'm Andrea Creets, the Director of Public Health for the Quabbin Health District.
Maybe you can both find me, I don't know. Lou Lorraine, Belchertown Community TV.
Okay. Heather?
Hi, everybody. Heather Warner with the Collaborative for Educational Services, coordinator of the Hampshire Franklin Tobacco Free Community Partnership.
Anybody else back up there? Rebecca?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Rebecca Edwards. I direct drug-free communities for the town of Ware and also work on Stop Act with Ware and Palmer.
Okay. Lexi? Do you want to? Sue? Or Lexi?
I just pressed the wrong button, sorry.
Where'd she go?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lexi Polikoff. I use she, they pronouns. I am the Spiffy Coalition Coordinator that is also based out of the Collaborative for Educational Services.
Awesome. Sue?
Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Daly. I am the Volunteer and Resource Coordinator at the Recovery Center of Hope in Ware.
All right. Thank you. And Lauren?
Sure. Hi, folks. Lauren Kelly, she, her, and I'm the New Hampshire Hope Coordinator based out of Northampton, DHHS.
Welcome, Lauren. All right. So with that being said, Lauren, do you have any updates
is
from
Devin? Oh, sorry. Is Devin here?
Who?
Devin.
Devin Streeter is my one of my colleagues from Hampden County. Are you
Hello.
on?
Hi, Devin.
How you doing? Sorry, I'm just having bad reception. Sorry for that's why my camera's not working. But yes, I'm Devin Streeter. I am from the Hampden County tobacco-free communities, and I was just invited, and just wanted to just see how well things work, and just see how things are going on in Belchertown. Thank you.
All right. Welcome, Devin. Thank you, Heather, for pointing that out. It would have been right over my head. Yes, Lauren, do you have any updates from Hampshire Hope at all?
No major updates. A couple of things which might already be on some folks' radars. We are doing a large regional screening of Recovery City at the Academy of Music in Northampton in partnership with the Northampton Recovery Center, and we're hoping to really be able to start to push out some save the date and information to a lot of our community partners. So folks here in the coming days. But if folks just want to get it on their radar, it is we're slated for Thursday, March 27th in the evening. And so it's a documentary that follows 4 different women based out of Worcester, and the screening will also include a Q&A panel with the filmmaker and a couple of the women featured in the film. So hoping to have it be a impactful opportunity for our broader community. And yeah, so I'd say like that's probably one of the biggest things in the realm of Hampshire Hope right now, just to get on folks' radars, and more to come in the coming days.
Great. Yeah, if you could send that flyer over. This is great though, because Sue Daly, who's here right now from the Ware Recovery Center, Ware Recovery Center Hope, and Julie Lutz, I met with them about Recovery City. And this was a discussion that we've had like a couple months ago, like bringing it out here. So this is great that it's going to be out in the Northampton area, or the Northampton area. That we can advertise with that too. So we can see what it's all about, and that way we can maybe, Sue and I can get together and bring that into Ware at some point. But,
yeah, no, definitely happy to share more with y'all.
Yeah, definitely. Is there any other partner updates that we have up here? Heather?
Well, I just have a few, kind of tag-ons and updates. I just wanted to mention, since Belchertown has the 84 chapter now, that they do have a lot of mini grants for between $5,000 and $10,000 that are issued directly to the young people to do, and the adult advisor to, and oftentimes it's quite flexible in how it's used in the projects. Yeah.
Heather, I actually was speaking with Ed yesterday. We had a meeting, or the day before, and we were talking about that, and I'm going to bring it up to the Helping Hands about the Creative Spark. We talked about maybe, it's going to be their choice, but maybe involving vape disposal at Drug Take Back Day or something like that. So yeah, we're very interested in trying to get something going with that.
Yeah,
That's
Vape
awesome.
Take Back Day. I've been researching like where to dispose of it, and I've reached out to several different places, and I think I did find a place in Westfield we can dispose of them. So I need to do a little bit more background on it, but with Drug Take Back Day in April this year, we do want to do a Vape Take Back Day as well at the same exact time and start kicking that off.
Yeah. The Jan up in Franklin County did a one pager on vape disposal that gave options, and she did some research around to find out, about batteries, no batteries, things like that. So I can send that to you too.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. I also just wanted to say that, and Lexi was part of this too. A small group of public health representatives from Western Mass, across Franklin, Hampshire, met with the Cannabis Control Commission. They provided us with this redlined version of their social consumption regulation, which hasn't, I don't think, actually been released publicly, although they have been taking general public comment on social consumption, but they will be releasing a draft soon that the public can comment on. And I think my jaw dropped quite a bit when I saw the regulation, because one key thing is that it allows social consumption at almost every license that's available. So a grower, a manufacturer, a retailer can now have social consumption. They also have what's called a hospitality license, so that someone can apply for that and then seat themselves in any retail or any other establishment. It could be yoga, could be a clothing store, it could be a bowling alley, it could be, as long as it doesn't have alcohol or tobacco also sold or served. And the other, I guess, they also have a whole thing on events, which stemmed from Franklin County having some really serious issues with cannabis being distributed and sold at events up in Franklin County illegally at that point. So they took back that feedback and they said, we hope you're excited about our new regulation on events. And it just felt like they didn't understand where we were coming from, because now they're allowing sales and combustion, smoking and blah, blah, blah at the events. There's requirements around having doors and walls, and there's some mention of ventilation, but it's not spelled out well. In order to do all of this, they had to, in 2023, put an exemption into our statewide tobacco laws. So we have state tobacco laws that disallow combustion and vaping indoors. And they had to put a clear exemption that said this is exempted for cannabis combustion, smoking, vaping, and they spelled it all out. I still think that it undermines the intent of the tobacco regulation, and I hope to kind of work with some of the MTCP lawyers but I know some of them worked to try to limit it. It just would have been good if they, I think that we need a push to sort of say, why are we doing combustion and vaping? Is it enough in social cafes to just have drinks and edibles? So I had one other update, but I can pause there in case people have comments about this.
Yeah, if they're allowing these things at different events that don't have like alcohol or tobacco, who's going to oversee them and make sure
Right.
that the vendor is complying with the regulations?
Yeah. So a local community can permit them, and they do require that a local community sign off on the event. But if the community doesn't sign off on the event within a 2-week period, then the CCC will take over and just sign it.
And that entity is most likely going to be the select board.
Yes. And in order to have social cafes, there is a requirement that a town kind of like opt in, and that will probably take place with the select board as well. But I mean, I think that, like, if there's a time to organize and to respond and to be active on this, it's now. I think this is the most lenient regulation I've seen. I see you have a hand up, Lexi, too. I know the hands are kind of hard to see on this screen.
Lexi, is she up here still? Oh,
yeah. Hi. I mean, this isn't in response to what you were saying, Heather. My hand was just up to share as well, so I can pause and wait there.
Well, I would just say my last update is to say that, Andrea, you know how you were saying that Ware, and I'm sorry, this is Belchertown, but Ware is a, equity, environmental justice designation. Then I am in the process of submitting our 10-year revised tobacco grant, and the grant is very different this year, so that instead of having all of Hampshire and Franklin County, they tell us which towns are priority, and the only town in Hampshire County that was considered priority is Ware, and they want us to spend 80% of our time in those priority communities.
Wow.
So it's not, I will never turn my back on any community in Hampshire County, or Franklin County, but I wanted you to know that. And we are looking at creating a subcontract with Rebecca and with the town of Ware we're proposing $60,000. So we're hoping that a lot of attention can go to Ware around this tobacco stuff that's happening there. And I know when we support Ware, we're supporting a lot, neighboring communities too. But those are my updates.
All right, thank you, Heather. Lexi.
Yeah, mine's just super quick. Just wanted to share that the Spiffy Coalition co-organizes a regional school health task force, and it's been on hiatus for some time as we were figuring out our strategic plan, but we are rebooting it. And there's going to be monthly meetings for the next year at least, including the summer. And the focus of these meetings are going to be around strategies that schools can implement to support student mental health and improve school climate and sense of belonging at schools. And so our first one of this series is actually tomorrow, and it's virtual. It's at 3:30 to 4:30, and we have a few speakers speaking about the strategy of using like peer-to-peer student trainings that are evidence-based and particularly support LGBTQ plus students. So just wanted to share that.
Thank
Also,
you.
I know Rebecca put, I'm trying to figure out how to access the chat, but I think she put her updates in the chat as well.
Lexi, do you have any pulse on the PNAS 2025, like when it's going to be distributed, or has our districts been contacted yet?
Yeah, I'm sure there's, I mean, Caroline is our data person is at the forefront of that. And I can kind of connect you two over email if that's helpful. But I mean, I know that they've already done lots of rounds of reaching out to every single, particularly school administrators. So, and then the actual survey is being disseminated kind of end of March, early April.
Okay.
But
I just was curious. I had checked in with my assistant superintendent this morning, and he hadn't heard anything, but he said that they connect with the administrators directly. So
yeah, the principals typically.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Also, another thing that I did reach out to Rebecca about was doing a smoking cessation class, coupled within maybe the recreation department after school. That way we can have open it up to any students, because we do know our Helping Hands kids have talked to us about their friends want to stop, but they don't know how. And so maybe implementing a cessation course, which I've been talking to Rebecca about a little, to see if she can come in and do that. That would be great. And then maybe having it after that, do it during the day after school, and then earlier that evening for the adults. So that's something I might want to look at. But Heather, I have a question for you now that you're here. Is there some type of training that I could take, or something that I could do that?
Yeah, Rebecca took it through the UMass cessation program. We get funding from MTCP, and I know they can be costly, maybe $1,000 to $2,000, but I think you can also get scholarships.
Okay.
If you ask. And they also have a lighter one that's maybe $500 or $600 that gives a lot of information about cessation, but isn't the certification.
Right. Okay. Great.
And I can, I think the person is Shirlene Jean, Gene. But let me look at my resources again. I have 2 other things I'm going to send you guys, so I'll check in. I'll look for that link as well.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was about all we had. Any other updates from anybody? Comments? All right.
The Belchertown Board of Health will love to know about that. So when you get more into finalizing your cessation,
yes,
because I know that was something that Leanne had expressed a lot of interest in.
All right. Great. Well, thank you, and I guess we'll close the meeting. Second it.
A second.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I'll be right back, Chris. I just have to print out some materials first.